Okay, at this time we're getting started. So everybody, you know the schedule. We're going to finish the notes that we started. More than likely, we're going to start the test review. We should have enough time to finish what we're doing here. Start our test review. Next class, we're going to finish test review and catch up on any homework that's missing because some of us are missing some homework. And then, of course, is your test a week from, it's going to be next Monday, 3/14. More than likely, that's probably going to be the last test of the quarter. Give you a heads up. So that's going to be that's going to be the game plan. Okay, anybody have any questions for me before we get started? So we're probably going to use just about the whole period. We should be, so where we're going to start, I'm going to show you the problem where we're starting. Because last time we started talking about sine, cosine, tangent. That's what we started talking about last time. I'm going to highlight the slide. So you have your right angle. Remember, for sine, cosine, and tangent, you need to identify your angle. That's number one. Locate or identify the three sides with respect to the angle. Now, the hypotenuse is always going to be the same, crossing that right angle. And then substitute or solve by way of the proportion method. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to continue that idea today. All right. Any questions before we start? So we should be at this point. We did the notes. We did problems 1 and 2. We did those already. And I believe we were up to here as well. We were up to here. That's where we stopped. So if you're missing anything, you got to get them. Now today, where we're starting, we're going to be dealing with problems similar to these types. But what's going to happen, you need to identify whether or not it's sine, cosine, and tangent that we need to use to help determine the value of our missing side, or it might be the missing angle. Well, right now it's just going to be the side. So at the end of this period, we're going to talk about how to find a missing angle given two sides. All right, so we're going to begin at this time. Let's get going. All right, for this problem, we need to look at what's given to us. Remember, what you need to do is you need to figure out of the three, well, actually it should say which one ratio, not which two. I took the wrong one. It should be which one ratio. So it's not two, it's just which ratio. But again, what do we have to take into consideration first? We have to take into consideration what's always the first thing we have to worry about? It's our, well, that too, that's second most. But what do we need to identify? Well, that's another part. But what's the most important thing? We need to go back here. Look at this slide. We had the three. Identify what first? The what? Before that, you gotta identify that angle first. So where's our angle? Where's our angle that's given to us? 52. We have to identify this guy first. That's number one. You got to get that first. Once you know which angle, because not the right angle. Don't identify the right angle. Because we already know what a right angle is. And the right angle, we automatically know what else. If we have the right angle, what's directly across in that right angle? What's that guy called? The hypotenuse. So we have a hypotenuse. So right away we can put a 15. 15. Now, what else is given to us? Besides our hypotenuse, what else? With respect to the angle. Look at our angle. You know it's an X. Where's the X located? Is it adjacent or opposite side? It's going to be the opposite. Yeah, because here's a 52, right? The X is opposite.
So is it opposite? Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be opposite. So you have the opposite. Something's up with a pen. So your opposite is here. So that means the adjacent, that gets crossed out. So we don't have the adjacent. So that means out of the three, which one do we use? Out of the three, which ratio? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Well, do we have anything marked for the tangent? Absolutely not. Cosine, not enough. We have the hypotenuse, but we don't have the adjacent, so we have to use the sine. So then our setup is going to be the following. It's going to be the sine. What's our angle measure? 52. That's going to equal, well, I'm going to fill it out in a second. On top, you have the X. Now, what did we say? What can we put under the sine of 52 to make it look like a fraction? What number? Put a 1 underneath. And I'll fill this out in a second. So our proportion is going to look like the following. Sine of 52 over 1 equals X over 15. So this is going to be a proportion. Okay, and that's really what we're going to do, because by proportion, yeah, you're going to multiply 15 on both sides to basically get the X by itself. So you're basically right, Valerie. That's exactly how we're going to knock this problem out. If you multiply 15 on both sides, and then again, with the 1 times X, well, what's 1 times X? It's just X. 1 times X is just X. And yeah, Valerie, you're basically right. You're going to be multiplying the sine of 52 times 15. I'll type that in there. I'll write it in there. So yeah. Sine of 52. And this is where we're going to need our calculators, ladies and gentlemen. Now remember, sine of 52, that's a number. So if we use our calculator, what would be the sine of 52? Let's get our So we're going to need our calculators for this one. Well, what do we get for the sine of 52?
0.78801075 cents.
All right, so the sine of 52 was what number again? 0.788. Good. So yeah, you're gonna be. So the sine of 52 becomes 0.7880, and then you're gonna multiply that number by 15, and then you'll get your final answer. You can do that too. Okay, I'll collect them. Just turn it in by the end of the period. So if we multiply these two numbers, so sine of 52, which is 0.7880 times 15, what do we get?
11.820.
All right, 11.820. And then Valerie, you said, couldn't we just multiply sine of 52 times 15 in our calculator? You can. You'll get the same result in the end. But that's basically how we get this done. So first you figure out what trig ratio or ratios you will use. And then you substitute, well, I'm sorry, you need to identify what's given to you, substitute, and solve. That's basically what we have going on here. But the name of the game is identifying what's given to us. All right, anybody have any questions so far with what we're doing? So for some of them, it's just going to be one. Some of them, we're going to have to do two. All right, questions before we go on? Let's look at the next one. All right, similar to before. What do we need to what's the very first thing we need to identify? Angle, yeah. So what's our angle in this case? 54. Now we need to figure out what two sides have something marked. Jason, 5, opposite x. Got to do the tangent, that's right. Tangent, because we don't have the hypotenuse. You have a tangent. You have an opposite, which is the x. Adjacent, 5. So this is going to be your setup. So I'll write it over here. Tangent. 54. I'll put parentheses around it. 54 degrees. Oops. Over 1 equals, keep your x, over 5. So there's our ratio setup. Well, similar to before, what do we always have to do with our proportions? We need to, which way? Go straight across or crisscross? Crisscross multiplication. Boom. Go ahead. And in the end, you're right. That's what's really going to happen. You multiply both sides by the 5. You're right. You're not wrong. Outside. Yeah, and Valerie, you're right in the end. If you multiply both sides by 5, because really, what's going to happen? What's really happening to the 1, ladies and gentlemen? Do we really need that 1? No, you don't even, that's going to be irrelevant. And then as Valerie said, and what you did is not wrong. I want to let you know, you're doing right. And she's right, because if we multiply both sides by 5, what's going to happen on the right side with the 5s? They go away. So basically, you're just left with x by itself, and on this side, you're left with 5 times tangent of 54. Now, in the end, tangent of 54 is some number. Who could tell us what the tangent of 54 is? So the tangent 54, oh, I see where you got the final answer. Tangent of 54 originally is 1.37, we'll say 1.376. And I should put parentheses around that. But then in the end, when you multiply 5 times 1.376, you do get the 6.88, 6.881, 6.882. You will get that. So your final answer in the end, as Valerie said, it's at 6.88. So that's good work. I mean, you went a step ahead, but you did it right. That's your final result. So, and again, I'm going to tell you all something. These values, you're not pulling, these values are not getting, I know you're doing the work because you're not going to be pulling these values out of a hat. This is good. This is legitimate work here. Okay, anybody have any questions on so far of what we're doing here? Let me see if there's any here. Hold on. Let me see if I have any in here. Like this, I got an idea.
Or can I write to the rest?
Actually, can I ask? I'll write you right past the nurse. See, they have extra boxes because I think we need them anyway. So we'll do that, and then whatever you miss. And then, all right. Questions on this problem before we go to the next one? All right, so look at the next one. All right, there you go. Thank you. All right, no problem. Okay, here we go. Are we good with this problem here? Get these down. You got it, Josh? Okay. If we're good, we're gonna go to the next one. Everybody over here good? All right. Let me know when you're ready. You got it? Andy, you good? Edwin? All right, here we go. All right, for this next one. All right, same thing, our goal. We need to figure out which one do we use? Sine, cosine, or tangents? There's our 37 degrees. That's step number 1. So step number 2, what's given to us? Hypotenuse is 14, yep. So right away, we cannot use the tangent since you have a hypotenuse. So we're either using a sine or cosine. Why cosine? Because you have the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Very good. She's right. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. That's what we're going to use. Very good, Valerie. She got it. So we're down to the cosine. So then we have cosine 37 degrees equals x over 14. Now, similar to before, what can we do to get the x by itself? I mean, yeah, we do have that over 1 bit. But again, do we need that over 1 stuff? Not for now. Again, if you have it, it's not wrong. But you don't need it. But you could do it that way. But what could we do to get rid of the fraction? What can we multiply both sides by? Right away, multiply both sides by 14. And again, if you do proportion method, you're not doing it wrong. So then the 14s go away. We're left with, I'm going to type it. Left with 14 times cosine 37, which equals x. I'll make that a little bigger for everybody. So that's what we have going on right now. Okay, now, what do we know about cosine of 37? That's actually a number. So, who could tell us what is the cosine of 37? What's that? Do you have to find what? Some people do. I just want to. Now, could we do 14 times cosine of 37 to get the final result? You can. So yeah, you get 0.7986. And then if you multiply that number by 14, what would be the final result? Yep, you get 11.18. Very good. There you go. That's your final result. There's your value of x. Now, I know if you're using Desmos, I think they just give you straight that final answer, right? If you use Desmos. Well, all right, what about the calculator? Let's check. If you typed in 14 times cosine of 37, you get that? Do you get that 11.18?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Then we might be able to go forward and just do the multiplication without converting. So it does do the conversion for you. Okay, that's cool. All right. Anybody have any questions on this one? Okay, now the next couple get a little different. I'm going to tell you why. Because right now, we were just given angle, hypotenuse, or adjacent, or whichever, 2 out of the 3. But going forward, you're going to be using 2 of them. Yeah, because now what's going to happen is, here's what they're going to do next. And I'll be nice, I'll give you this one. I'll give you this setup right here. Because once we identify the angle, that's your step 1. You have to identify that angle first. Which is down here. Then, so that's step 1. And then step 2, identify everything that's related to that angle. So the hypotenuse is 15. The adjacent is the y. Just remember, the adjacent is the one that touches the side that's not the hypotenuse, but it touches your angle. And then your opposite is across. So I just want everybody to see how we are labeling our triangle here. So I want everybody to take a minute to look at how we are labeling this triangle. Again, identify your angle first. Then identify your hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent side. But again, it all depends on the angle you're given. Don't use the right angle. Use the angle given to you. Then you do your substitution. Now, rather than once, we're going to have to do it twice. But are we at a point where do we have enough information to get the value of x and to get the value of y? Are we at a position where we can get those values? Do we have enough information? Because in the end, we do. Because if you think about it, for this first part right here, in the end, I'm going to just put a line right here so we don't get confused. In the end, your first part of the problem, you have sine of 33. Thank you, Des. Equals x over 15. Now, and of course, and again, do we need the over 1 business? Do we need that? No. In the end, you don't. Is it allowed? You can. Because in the end, you're going to get the same thing. Because in the end, you're just going to get that 1 times x. Or x. In the end, you're going to get the 15. And I'm going to say, write the 15 first. Times. And then put in parentheses, sine of 33. And then we just multiply. You can just multiply straight from the calculator. 15 times sine of 33. And we found out you don't even have to convert your sine of 33. You can just do 15 times sine of 33. And what do you get? So use our calculator, type in 15 times sine of 33, and then somebody tell us what we have.
8.16.
they're not going to necessarily be the same answer.
Why about 12?
Okay, we're going to check out that y in a second. So the x we found out was 8.16 or 8.17, depending on your rounding. But 8.16, 196, or 169, that's okay. That's good enough for me. So, and then again, remember, you don't even have to convert the sine of 33. I mean, if you did, it's not wrong because the sine of 33, I think, was like 0.544 something. Again, you don't have to do that. So, but in the end, if you just did sine 15 times sine of 33, you're going to get that answer. You don't even, this line is not necessary. So if you went straight from here all the way down to here, you're okay. You don't have to, you don't need this. Okay, questions. And then some, and then, so in the end, these two, the sine and the cosine, the x and the y are going to be different. Because rather than sine of 33, it's going to be what of 33? Is it sine or cosine of 33? So for this second one, it's going to be cosine, yeah. Let's do a little. It's going to be cosine of 33. And do we necessarily need the over 1? Do we need that? No, you can get rid of it. And then, because in the end, you multiply both sides by 15. Multiply both sides by 15. So in the end, you're just really, to get that y value, it's just going to be 15 times cosine of 33. And could we just, so all you have to do is just type in 15 times cosine of 33 in your calculator, and you'll get your value of y. It's going to get cut off. So in the end, what did we get for the value of y again? So 15 times cosine of 33 will be 12.58. That's right. Okay, questions? Yeah. Just take your agenda, get the water. I'm not going to fill it out. Just have it in your hand if anybody asks. Okay, questions on these? Anybody have any questions on these? All right. let's look at let's look at the next let's look at the next one. All right. I want you, okay, give you the setup and then I want you to try this next one. All right. What's given to us? All right. So just like before, we need to find, so what's the opposite, X and Y? Look at your angle. Say again? Adjacent is Y here. That's your adjacent side. There's your hypotenuse. There's your opposite. All right, so which two? Which two are we going to use? So we have a hypotenuse. Well, which one can't we use? Yeah, you can't use that because you have an X over Y. That's not going to help us here. That's out of the game. So we have to use these two. All right. So now, you know, I want you all to try them. So X, 22. And then Y. So I want you all to try to find X and Y on your own. I'll give you a couple minutes. As I'll update it 10. Okay. Okay. Whatever you miss, you gotta get from somebody, okay? All right, so I want you all to try these. Again, you already have the setup. So sine 35. Just remember, next week you're going to get a test on some of this. So we're going to have to practice. You're going to see quite a bit of this. And then similarly, cosine of 35. Y. So there we go. I want you all to try to find X and Y. Should not take you long at all, especially if the if you're not sure, let me know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good work, Alan. Well done. All right, excellent job. Anybody else want me to check their work? Again, really only one step you need to take this off of these two. For both the sine and the cosine. There's only one thing you really have to do. Alex, you want me to check your work? How you doing, Andy? All right. Let's see. Yes, sir. Good job. Okay, you're good with 4,500, good. Let's see. Yeah, them two are. Flip that. That's a 14. It is a 14 rather than 4. That's gonna change your that's gonna change your answer a little. That will change. Yeah, that's a solid right there. You know, we're gonna check those in a moment. Yeah, that one's a little different. Yeah, I think you got caught there. How we doing? What was that? 22. This one's good. Yeah, that's 22. Yeah, that's gonna change your answer a little bit. There's a second one, right? Yeah, that one, the Y value's good, and yeah, check that X one more time. Anybody else want to check? Okay, the X is good there. Keep going, you're almost there. Did you get those? Did you get those two problems there, Joshua? Go back previous slide. We're on this one. Yeah. Yeah, you got it. So all you have to do is now just multiply. You don't even have to convert. So there you go, Jason. Just do your multiplying. Yeah. What's your agenda? Whatever you gotta get, whatever you miss. All right. Okay, what did we get for X? What number? There you go. $12.61. And then what about the Y? So again, all you have to do is just multiply both sides by what number? What's in that denominator, ladies and gentlemen? The number is this. 20. Yup. So then it's just 22 times cosine 35 equals Y. So we got the Y value of, a lot of you had it. 18.02, 021, acceptable. Okay, that was it. Then your goal, get that proportion set up. Get that proportion set up. And really, in the end, it's just you multiply both sides by your denominator, you're done. That's all. Questions on this one? We're going to do a couple more. We're going to do one more of this type, but this one's going to be a little different. Beware. First two aren't that bad because in both cases it was sine cosine. But now the third one, we got to be careful. Okay. To identify our 48. But now, we have to identify what's given to us. Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. So we have the 48.
Is the hypotenuse Y?
Yes, the hypotenuse is Y. So
Would be 8.
what's 8? Adjacent is 8. So there's your hypotenuse.
And then opposite would be X.
X is the opposite. So Okay, let's look at this one. Well, which one can we not use? Sounds out of the game. Now, this one's going to be a little tricky. So we use this first one. Now, again, do we have to solve for y and x in order? No. So we're going to do cosine first. So cosine, so we're going to take this one down here. So it's going to be cosine. Now, what's our angle measure? Cosine of 48. Again, you can put parentheses. Equals. Now, is it 8 over y? All right. Now, this one might be easier with the proportion. This one might be easy. However, I'm going to show you a trick to make your life easy. Here's how you're going to solve this problem. Now, in here, we multiply the y times cosine of 48 and the 8 times 1, right? Can we legally switch the y and the cosine of 48? Can we switch those two? You can. Listen up. Here's how your life's going to be very easy. You can switch because I'm going to show you something. In the end, you can switch these and you're going to get the same, you can get the same result. You can rewrite as y over 1 equals 8 over cosine of 48. I'm going to show you why. Because let's say we had 1/2 over 3 over 6, right? Now, if I switch the 6 into 1, 6 over 2, 3. When we do our diagonal multiplication, will we still get the same result? Yes. So therefore, if I switch the cosine of 48 into y, will we still get the same result? That's right. You can switch these two. If you want to make your life easier, switch. Put the y here, put the cosine of 48 down here, and just like before, just type in 8 divided by cosine of 48. And you should get a number. $11.955 or 11.956 or 11.9596. Yeah, that's what you're going to get. Because if you just divide these two. Boom, you're done. That's all you have to do. So anytime you see this, now if you did the diagonal multiplication, that's what's going to happen in the end. You're just going to divide 8 by cosine of 48. You'll still get this. This is just a quicker way. But if you did the proportion method, you're still going to get the 8 divided by cosine of 48. So it's not wrong. This is just a quicker way. Say, hey, why do I need to do all this cross multiply business? If I just switch the order, divide, I get my value. You can do that. Now the other one is going to be just like before with the tangent. There's a tangent. Of course, you do tangent of 48. x over 8. But this is going to be just like before. What's the quickest way to get rid of that denominator? What do? Multiply by 8. That's it. The 8's go away. So you just left with so 8 times tangent of 48. Yep, then just multiply 8 times tangent of 48, and you should get your result. Yep, 8.88. Not too bad, right? That's not bad at all. Anybody have any questions on these? Again, identify, set up, solve. Again, you can use proportion method for any and all of these. But for some of these, like if it's something over 1, you don't have to. And then in the end, you're just multiplying. Use your calculator, boom, you're done. That's all you have. You don't even have to do that conversion business. Save yourself time. All right, questions on these? And then we're going to do 1 or 2 quick application problems, and then I want to show you some quick inverses. The inverses are going to be quick. That's not going to take long at all. Okay, ready? So give everybody, let me know when you two got this, okay? You get that last one, Kevin? Yeah. Chenda, just take it with you. All right, here we go. Okay. Ramp is used to load a suitcase onto an airplane. If the cargo door is 7 feet from the ground, and the angle formed by the end of the ramp and the ground is 25 degrees, then how long is the ramp? So basically, you got to draw a picture. It's not the best. So they said this cargo door is 7 feet from the ground. So pretend here's your ground. There's the ground. Now the ramp. What's the ramp? The ramp is always our, the ramp is always our hypotenuse. You see ramp, that's always hypotenuse. Boom. Then the cargo door is 7 feet from the ground. So if this is the ground, is the 7 feet this way or is it up and down? Up and down. Now the end of the ramp and the ground forms a 25-degree angle. So is the 25-degree angle here or here? Is it this angle here? To the above the right angle, or is it to the left of the right angle? To the left. Now, some of you might have flipped it. You could have done it the other way. You could have had here was the height, ramp, 25-degree angle. That's fine too. So if you did it this way, H, 7, and then 25 degrees. That's okay too. Both of these diagrams are acceptable. Because now the goal is we need to figure out which one of the three trig identities we need. But so here's our 25-degree angle, right? What's given to us? But what's the 7 related to the 25? That's the opposite. Hypotenuse we don't know yet. But we have an angle measure. We have an opposite, we have a hypotenuse. So which one are we going to use? Or is it going to be the sine, the cosine, or the tangent? Got to take a guess. You have an opposite and a hypotenuse. No, it's not. We don't know the gram. So we don't.
It would be a sin.
Say it again.
It would be a sin.
Sine. Yep, you're going to use the sine. Got to use the sine because that's the opposite of a hypotenuse. Very good. So in this case, you have sine of 25 equals opposite, which is what? What's our opposite value? Opposite is 7. Now, do we know the hypotenuse yet? No. Okay. Here might be better. We're going to have to do a little work for this one. However, what could we do with the sine of 25 and the hypotenuse? What can we do to these to make our life very easy? Switch places, yeah. All you have to do is switch. So in the end, your hypotenuse is going to equal 7 over the sine of 25. That's all you do for this problem. I did not want to do that. Yeah, hypotenuse is equal to 7 over sine of 25. And then all we have to do is just type it in the calculator, right? So if we do that, 7 divided by sine of 25, what number do we get? Yup, that's it. 7 divided by the sine of 25 is going to give you 16.563 or 16.56. That'll be good enough for me. But yeah, that's it. That's all you have to do. Again, the key is if you need to draw a diagram, identify what's given to you, because your ramp, you know, is always going to be the hypotenuse. It's always going to be ramp. And anytime you see the ramp, that's our hypotenuse, always. Ladder, hypotenuse. And then I should be specific. It should be 16.56 feet because it was 7 feet for the cargo door. But again, most important is your setup. Give me your right triangle, boom. I have the opposite. I need a hypotenuse, but as long as I have an opposite, I can get that. So if we're looking for the ramp, that's the other part. You got to figure out what we're looking for, what we're trying to find. Okay, any questions on that one? The other one's a similar problem. So we ready to see that last one, and then we're going to talk about inverses real quick. The inverses aren't going to take long at all. Okay. 24-foot ladder placed against the wall at 50. Placed against the wall at a 55-degree angle from the ground. We need to figure out how far away from the wall is the base of the ladder. So here's our wall. They said the 24-foot ladder. Well, the ladder is always if we have a ladder, that's always our hypotenuse right there. Sorry, my drawing's not the best. But there's your ladder. And they said, placed against the wall at a 55-degree angle with the ground. So here's your 55-degree angle. Now, they're now asking how far away from the wall is the base of the ladder. So the base of the ladder is right here. That's the base. So are we trying to find out the height of the wall or the distance from the ladder to the wall? What are we trying to find here? From where? Yeah, we're trying to find this distance right here. We don't know that. But what do we know? We have a ladder from the base from the base of the ladder to the wall. We need this distance, but with respect to the angle, is this distance the opposite or the adjacent? Okay, in the end, this distance from the base of the ladder to the wall, that's our adjacent side. So then which one are we going to use, sine, cosine, or tangent? Say again? Cosine, yeah. Got to use the cosine. Adjacent over hypotenuse, yup. Cosine of 55. Well, the adjacent we don't know. That's our x. And the hypotenuse, what's the length of the ladder? What's the hypotenuse? 24. And then in the end, that's all you have to do. Valerie said it. You're just going to be multiplying these guys. I mean, could you put it over 1? Yeah, you can. You don't have to, but you can. And then just multiply both sides by 24. sounds about right. You don't need this. So we just multiply 24 times cosine of 55. It would be 13.76, 13.77, somewhere around there, 765. And I should have said, well, actually ran to the nearest foot, it would have been 14, but don't worry about the ran to the nearest foot. Okay, so, and again, I forgot to mention feet. Got to include the feet. So basically, it's a setup. You got to go from here. How do we get from here to here? That's our goal. Questions? Any questions on these problems? You might see one on your test. I don't know. I'm still debating. All right. Now, for the last few minutes, you know how we've been trying to find a side and everything? But there might be a case where I'll give you two sides. You need to find the missing angle. But it's actually very easy. Now, you will still need your calculators. But you will need to be aware on your calculator. So you might want to open up your calculator if you haven't done so. It's on the top, towards the top, you see that blue button where it says second? So, Catherine, you might want to open up your calculator. I want you to see this real quick, please. All right, Joshua, you ready? You see where it says second on your calculator? Now, if you touch either sine, cosine, or tangent, you see that inverse, the -1? All right, we're going to need this for just the next few problems. However, those keys are going to help us for the last three problems, because basically what's going to happen is, I'm not going to talk too much about it, because what we're going to do for the last few, we're going to find the measurement of the missing angle. Now, don't worry too much about all this. We're going to learn more about practice. This is just basically a list of the rules. So whatever angle you're given, so let's say if it's angle A, you still need to know what our opposite, hypotenuse, and all that business is. You still need to know that. But what's going to happen now is you're going to use those inverses, like the sine with that -1, cosine of the -1, tangent of that -1. So you still need to know what your opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse are. You're just going to be using a different command. However, I showed you, basically you hit that second button, and you're just going to repeat either sine, cosine, or tangent, but then you're going to type in the fraction, like whatever your opposite is over hypotenuse. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, I am listing them for all three. So when we do these problems, now we're just going to find the angle measured. But again, you still have to locate your angle first. That's still number one. And then number two, identify your sides. You still need to do that. Locate angle. ID sides. Identify them sides. But then what you do is you have to be careful. The inverse, you have to look at, now it's the inverse. So if you're told to find a missing angle, you use one of these three keys. But you can get confused because if you don't hit that second button and you just say sine, cosine, and tangent, and then you put in that fraction, you're going to get a way different number. All right, any questions before we begin? Trust me, this is going to be real quick. It's much quicker than you think. All right, so if we look at the first one. Okay, here's our missing angle right here. So now we need to figure out what two sides are given to us. What two have been given to us? Well, obviously, the 24 is the hypotenuse. That's our hypotenuse. So right away, which one of the three can we not use if we're given a hypotenuse? Yeah, that tangent's out of the game. Check that out. Now the 12, is that an opposite or an adjacent? That's an opposite. So do we have the adjacent? No. So that means if we don't have the adjacent, which one must we use? Huh? The sine, yeah, because the cosine's out of the game. Gotta use this guy. But now this is gonna be real easy because all you have to do is just take the sine inverse. Okay, what number's on the top? What's the opposite is 12. 12 over 24. And then you just type in the sine. Remember, it's second. You have to hit the second button, then the sine to get that sign with the -1. And then you type in 12 divided by 24. Close the parentheses. And then what do you get?
30.
30. That's right, because that's a 30-degree angle. Now, some of you could have just said, oh, sine of 12 over 24 is exactly 0.5. You could have done it that way too. But in the end, yep, your angle measure is going to be 30 degrees. So, the inverse sine of 0.5 or 1/2, exactly 30 degrees. And if you think about it, remember, think about it like the short leg, hypotenuse. The short leg was across from the 30-degree angle. So we've actually seen this before. But that's all we're doing. Questions on this one? All right, let's look at the final two, and it's not going to take that long. All right, this one. Okay, here's our angle in question. What's given to us? Well, actually, what do we not have? You don't have the hypotenuse, so what must we use? Yep, you're down to the tangent. You can't use the other two because we don't have a hypotenuse. Now, we need to discuss who's opposite, who's adjacent. Which one's the opposite, which one's the adjacent? 38 is your adjacent. Good. So that means who has to be the opposite? Yeah. Yeah, opposite 27, adjacent 38. So yeah, now we just do tangent. So it's 38 and 27 over 38. So remember, second tangent. That's how you get the 10 with the -1. And all you have to do is just type in 27 divided by 38. And you're going to get a... And then what was the approximate value? What number did we see? Flip it.
39.
Okay, so I think you flipped it. I think you went 38 over 27. Which, all right, you got a good point though. That would have been the other angle. So yeah, that would have been 35 on 39. And then what you said does, yeah, so it's about 35.39. Because I think when you said the 54, you gave me this angle, which you got a good point. And I want to tell you something. I'm glad you said what you said. Because if the angle is here, if this side is smaller than this side, this angle better be less than 45 degrees. Whereas you flipped it, this side was bigger than this side. This is going to be between 45 and 90. So you actually did us a favor. This may sound weird, but you did us a favor because for the tangent, if this number is smaller than this number, this better be less than 45 degrees. However, if it's flipped, it better be bigger than 45 degrees. But it can't be greater than 90 because remember, if this is 90 here, these two angles have to be less than 90 degrees. So in the end, favors, we're done. So yeah, this one would have been 35.39. This one would have been that 54.61 you said, somewhere along those lines. So if anything, you did us a favor. So I'm glad you brought that up. And that's all we're doing here. So if you're told to find a missing angle, you're just going to use one of these three. And then same thing for the last one. Well, what's given to us? Hypotenuse. And the, whoa, careful. Hypotenuse was given to us. Where's our angle? That's adjacent. So we need to use which one? You got to use cosine because since we have a hypotenuse, tangent's going already. We have the adjacent. So we're down to the we're automatically going to use the cosine. Cosine, -1. Just put A over H. So then it's cosine, -1. And it was 13 over 20. Yep. And then again, just second cosine, and then just type 13 divided by 20, close parentheses. Yeah, what did you say again? That's it. 49.45 or 49.46, that's all right. That's good for me. All right, what I'm going to do is the following. If you want,